So hi all, I'm Stefan. Before going into the demo, I'm going to give you a quick background on myself and my motivation that actually brings me here. So I have a background in physics. I worked in physics up to 2 kilometers underground studying the universe. So this is the size of the experiments I was working on. And you can see the size of a person here down on the screen. This is a super cool experiment in Canada. And after working on this type of research, which is super time consuming, and I realized I don't really have the patience for it. I want to work on projects that I can achieve faster than in 20 years. But okay, my colleagues can keep working on it. So after this, I switched to Okay, now it works. So I switched on working on computer vision projects because I really liked the field, and coming from data science in academia, I felt like a nice progression moving forward. So I worked on a couple of computer vision projects. This is one, real-time industrial quality control automation for IKEA in real time. Then I worked on something also interesting for the judiciary police in Portugal on gun model classification based on fired cartridges using their own infrastructure. Then after working on a couple of these computer vision projects, I decided, okay, maybe I need to take a leap and try to work on projects I feel even more passionate about. So I went to Entrepreneur First in Berlin and almost kicked off personalized computer vision fitness app. And here you have a demo of it. Basically what I did here for a quick demo back then was to train a model on correct and incorrect poses, and it's counting the incorrect movements here, and then it stops counting the correct ones. So it was focused on giving real-time feedback on your execution, because even this was 2 years ago, back then I would say we had already the technology in order to deliver personalized fitness solutions. But didn't take off. That's a story for drinks later. So okay, but this brings my journey here, and I'm going to kick it off with a question before going to the demo. So what just your top pick for what stops you from reaching your highest productivity at work? What would be your first guess? Just shout out some answers.
Social media?
Social media, yeah. YouTube, okay. Coffee? Coffee, okay. So we are too distracted, huh? From all the random...
Kids.
Kids, okay, that's a good one. That's a good one.
Things to work on.
Sorry?
Boring things to work on.
Okay, but I mean, I think you have probably some control over, huh? Anything else?
Context switching.
Context switching, yeah. I think there's a common thread here when it comes to social media and switching. Yeah, not having focus time. That's something we hear, but we can talk about that at the drinks. The demos are going to be focused a little bit on another part. So no one actually mentioned this. And this is a small parenthesis. So this was a study released at the beginning of the year. I don't speak Dutch, but I can translate it for you. Basically, what it's saying is the Dutch are champion of sitting. So basically, when you start sitting, you're starting a clock that goes against your productivity over time. So the more you have prolonged sitting sessions, the more less productive you're going to become during the day. And this is part of the motivation that brings the demo. This is a cool campaign that was recently released by ASICS actually yesterday that goes in line to exactly what I was telling you. Basically, they are advocating into stepping aside from your desk from time to time in order to improve your mental health, and that's tied to also the productivity that I was mentioning earlier. And there's also a lot of research out there that shows that okay, short breaks can boost your energy among other things while you're working. So all this tied together. For example, Slack tried at the end of last year and published these results they did with a small team within Slack to see what's the effect of micro breaks. So because of course they can control the productivity, they can measure it internally and see the effects of an intervention like this within their environment, and they saw a 20% increase in productivity of their developers by just taking breaks, which is not something that you would necessarily think about as a developer when you want to increase your productivity. You want tools that maybe abstract or automate, but taking a break actually goes in the same direction and even more than just the productivity that gives you that they can give you in the moment. It also helps you with your overall health. But another interesting thing here, which I think why maybe people are not necessarily mentioning breaks as a way to increase their productivity, is that people have, let's say, not good perception when it comes to others taking breaks. They're not viewed as something necessarily acceptable at work because it goes against you spending more time working, basically. But the science tells us that actually taking breaks makes us more productive. So, okay, they tried a bunch of types of breaks, but the breaks that we're focusing on with our solution, and I'm going to get to the demo in a second, are breaks tied to muscle and joint discomfort, because these are the #1 reason for abscess from work globally. So the neck, shoulder, lower back pains that you get, especially because we are sitting a lot during the day and our body is not used to that, these are the reactions that, let's say, we get back from our bodies not treating them properly during the day by sitting too much. So this gets me actually to the demo. There's a link also in the description, so I'm not gonna actually go to the real thing. I'm not gonna go to the video right now. But if you want to rewatch it, you can rewatch it by checking the notes of the AI Tinkerers page in the speakers. So let me get to the demo part now. Okay, so we are trying to make it as simple as possible for someone to take a break at work. So that means that we need to be in your work environment. So that's why we are in Slack here. It's a conversational interface. Let's just start the flow. Okay. Okay, so I'm asking the AI for a new plan. It's asking me if I want to work on muscle and joint discomforts or get some energizers. Let's say that I want an energizer. Everything. So what we are using the LLMs for is to do classification. So first, see if the input from the user matches the prompt from the AI in this case, and then route that through the application, the answer, and through the flow that are behind the scenes. So we are doing both validation and can I make it bigger? Yes, I can make it bigger. So we are both validating the inputs and routing through the flows behind the scenes. Then we are really trying to tie to how much time you have at work. So let's say I have 15 minutes per day that I want to focus on this. Then that's a total. Then across how many of these breaks I want to spread the intervention, and then I get these recommendations. Everything is pre-generated with LLMs. The only part for two reasons. First, we want to validate the input, make sure the outputs to the user, make sure that everything is right, because this is, let's say, like a physiotherapist's advice that would give you in order to prevent muscle and joint discomfort. So we don't want any sorts of hallucinations here when it comes to making you more happy and productive at work. We don't want to get that sort of headaches. Second, it's also latency and reducing basically the cost with if you don't need to use a model. So we we are only using a model live for the classification of the inputs from the users and routing them through the application, because that needs to happen in real time. And of course, if let's say the use case is not covered by the system, then for that we can also open it for outside access, but that's not integrated into version 8. It's closed. Let's go like that. And then the next part is, okay, do you want reminders for these 3 breaks that you want to have every day? And I do want reminders, and here there are 2 systems that we have behind the scenes. So once is just a scheduler into which we can put the reminders, and then you get messages into Slack at those times. But we're also experimenting with a calendar agent in order to schedule these reminders in your calendar if you want to see them. And maybe you can imagine that your calendar's events are going to change, and then the system can know automatically if those breaks needs to be rescheduled, and you don't have to do that on your own, because if you just set the reminders, then there's no connection with the calendar there. So then let's input 3 times there. If I'm going to check my calendar here, I see there's a lot of space tomorrow for taking some breaks. So then I'm gonna just put some times there. Let's say 12, 5. Let's see if this works. There's my... Okay, this is doing the live demos with untested prompts. Okay, so usually this works. Let's see, maybe it takes a bit more time here. And the idea is that at the same time, you could schedule calendar events. So I see that the agent actually behind the scenes started scheduling out the events. And then, okay, so a little bit of what goes on behind the scenes. We have a library of movements, which is, okay, like not the rack system yet, but that's where it's going in order to recommend you different movements because based on your needs, energizers, as I was mentioning, lower back, shoulder, and neck discomforts. We are integrating with Prefect for the scheduler for the times. And other data flows. It's super handy. You can see here, yeah, we have a lot of scheduled jobs because this is actually running in production. And for the calendar agent that was still working there, we are using Composio and Crew AI. Yeah, super handy nowadays, and I do see a future in which basically everything that's running behind our app can be composed out of agents. And that's it. So right now we had to do some of the, let's say, pairing the LLM with some of the tests that we're doing ourselves. But I do see the option that quite easily in the near future, everything when it comes to coupling your different API needs with your application behind the scenes can be handled by specific agents. And let me double check if maybe we extracted the input. Yes, okay, so it took a while, but also the system managed to extract the times, and Prefect then is gonna store the reminders on top of the calendar events that and also the calendar events are here. Okay, so this was it, and then the last part that was in the demo. So you can imagine also based on the previous experience that I showed you with computer vision for personalized fitness that you might actually want to get some feedback or maybe you're going to be even more likely to perform these movements that prevent your muscle and joint discomfort if you get some feedback when you're performing them. So for this, we quickly built a challenge for just one movement. Let's see if this works. Okay. This is running live. Okay, something's showing up there. I may be too close to it. Okay. Yeah, so you can imagine that you might need some space when you're doing this. You get some feedback, because basically this is how you need to be when you're doing the movements, and it should work something like this, but I don't see the feedback on the screen, so it's supposed to be counting. Does it count? Okay, it's working. Yeah, so, and you can imagine that you can try to gamify this a little bit on top of this. So this is super basic right now. And in comparison with the previous model that I showed you, which is actually based out of meta models trained on top of pose models, this is just math. Because it was more straightforward to actually, for this particular use case, use just math. But you can imagine that for some movements where maybe geometry cannot help you, can be straightforward to implement, we can also basically train models, like the one I showed you earlier, to recognize incorrect form during execution, and you can do that for for different types of incorrect form. Yeah, so you need to build a model independently for each type of classification that you're after with the form feedback. Okay, and that's it. I'm not going to waste my time. Thank you.